can't continue to allow China to rape our country, and that's what they're doing. It's the greatest theft in the history of the world.
China, a theme President-elect Donald Trump returned to often on the campaign trail. President Xi Jinping of China and Mr. Trump set a tone of, quote, mutual respect in a phone call Sunday night. But if Mr. Trump's earlier rhetoric is put in motion, U.S. China relations look set for a seismic shift. Here are 3 things to watch. Number 1, currency manipulation. Donald Trump pledged to declare China a currency manipulator on day 1 of his presidency. And unlike many of Mr. Trump's policy promises, his commitment to sanction China has been one of his most explicit.
Countries have taken advantage of the United States like never, ever, ever before. They're money manipulators, they're currency manipulators. They cut the value of their currencies at points where, for some reason, we never, ever talk retribution.
By itself, designating China a currency manipulator has little practical effect. But Mr. Trump could use the designation to justify costly fees on imports from China, which he has also promised. Number 2, tariffs. Mr. Trump has proposed imposing 45% trade tariffs on China, making Chinese exports to the U.S. much more expensive, thus damaging China's economic growth, and potentially sparking a trade war. China could retaliate in the same way and damage the U.S. economy.
China doesn't free trade with us, by the way, just so you know. You know, Boeing is building massive plants in China. Be careful, because when they cut the value of their currency in 2 years after their plants are built, and you find out you're losing your business, not going to happen if Trump is president, that I can tell you.
Apple, America's largest company by market capitalization, makes nearly all of its products in China. China is also Apple's largest market outside the U.S. It's also the world's largest auto market, and U.S. carmakers Ford and General Motors count on China as a major profit center. So the winners could end up being international competitors like Samsung, Airbus, and Volkswagen. Number 3, TPP. The Trans-Pacific Partnership is a trade pact between the U.S. and 11 other nations.
Which is going to be worse than NAFTA, where all of the things that I've been talking about for years, monetary manipulation, it's what they do with the devaluation makes it impossible for our businesses to compete. All of these countries are going in, and believe me, China's lurking in the background. They're watching, they're not in it, but they're watching, and they're gonna go in through the back in a couple of years, and they'll steal it all.
The pact excluded China and was viewed by many as an attempt to reassert U.S. economic influence in Asia. But the trade pact is now unlikely to be passed, which is good news for China. Chinese growth could receive a small boost as Asian nations draw closer to China, nervous about U.S. commitment to the region. Early Monday, Mr. Trump's office said the president-elect believes that he and President Xi will have one of the strongest relationships for both countries moving forward. Chinese media quoted Mr. Xi as saying cooperation was the sole correct choice of the two nations.